we grow up hearing that determination is everything, that if you stick with it, if you never quit, if you push through the pain, and you'll succeed. And in most areas of life that holds true. We can think of countless examples, and we'll get into them. But there are certain areas, and I'm sure a lot of you are aware of them, but there's a specific area of trading that completely flips that on its head. Because in the markets, determination can turn dangerous. It can be a double-edged sword, especially if you don't point it in the right direction. The more you push, the more you chase, the more determined you are to make it back, I should say, the faster you spiral. And I just really wanted to get into a conversation about how a trait that builds success in most areas of life, most areas, can completely, quietly break people in the trading arena.
It's kind of counterintuitive, isn't it? Like, we're all taught to grind, to persevere. But it sounds like in trading, that can actually be a liability. It's funny because you're right. It's one of those things where the advice everyone gives, the standard self-help stuff, can actually be actively harmful. It's almost like trading needs a different operating system for the brain.
Yeah, I mean, I often think, are people, because obviously people have different amounts of natural determination. We're all wired slightly differently, I should say. If you take somebody like a Michael Jordan, a Phelps, top sports people, if you just transfer that determination that they've obviously needed to get to the heights that they got to, and you throw it into the trading arena, but you don't point it in the right direction. So you sort of carelessly throw it into the trading arena and say, go on, you're a determined person, continue to be determined. There are so many directions in trading that will end up spiraling to a point of self-destruction. And there are only, in my opinion, a few places that you can point that to. It's almost like you've got to snipe that determination in the right direction. And if you don't do that, you're going to fall victim. So raw determination in and of itself isn't necessarily a good thing when it comes to trading, unless it can be harnessed and pointed in the right direction.
That's a really good way to put it. Snipe that determination. I like that. It's almost like raw willpower needs a rudder, right? Otherwise, it just spins you in circles. And yeah, thinking about athletes, it's interesting because in sports, the objective is usually pretty clear. Score more points, run faster. But trading?
Yeah, I mean, in sports, you can push harder, right? You can, like you said, you can get stronger, bigger, faster, stronger. Most of the time, is going to get you the win.
Exactly. More effort usually equals better results. But in trading, more effort can actually be the problem, can it? Like overthinking, overmanaging, chasing losses. It's all effort, but it's misdirected. It's almost like you need a different kind of strength, emotional resilience, maybe, or detachment.
This is this is one of the interesting things, because I think a lot of people who come to the trading arena, the virtual trading floor, I think that, maybe a lot of the people listening to this are probably super determined individuals, or at least people who are determined enough to go against the typical grain and try something different to the status quo. So it's almost like they have that. Maybe they've achieved well in other areas of life, but ultimately they have that determination. So they're coming to the trading arena with that prerequisite, which, as I was, alluding to before, I feel like that prerequisite, most of the time, if just thrown into the arena and not sniped, is going to work against them, which is possibly why we start hearing statistics like, 90%, 95% of traders, however you skin that statistic, but it's in that ballpark, 95% of people are going to fail. Don't know if you want to run with that.
No, that tracks. It's like they've got the engine, but no steering wheel. And it's brutal, because that determination's a good thing. It really is. It's just
in other areas of life, right?
Exactly. It's a misapplication of a valuable trait. I remember back in June, We were talking about how a true edge in trading needs both a mechanical side and a psychological side.
Mm-hmm.
Does this tie into that, do you think? Like people focusing so much on the mechanical, on the strategy, thinking that's enough when really they're missing the emotional piece?
If we're talking about determination specifically, and not to get too much into the weeds, but I think if you're determined to refine your strategy, I think that's a good thing. You know, if that's where you're focusing that determination, I think it can actually become an asset in that area. I feel like where determination becomes misplaced is when it's I'm determined to spend X amount of hours. I'm not leaving the desk until I've won back my money, you know, that I've lost today, or I'm not gonna, you know, leave the desk until I've made X amount. You know, it's determined to hit goals in a given moment or in a given day. I feel like that's where it becomes dangerous. But if we're talking about studying the charts, trying to refine the edge and the strategy, like you were saying, I feel like, you know, throw all your determination in that direction. I feel like you're going to come out okay. You know, it's just that determination, misplaced determination in the moment of staring at a screen and placing trades and watching candlesticks go up and down is going to get you chopped up by all the emotions that we've got into before, you know, the FOMO, the greed, etc. You will stick there and you will see it through no matter what. And I guess you could say that's where the determination subtly morphs into stubbornness. It's almost like determination. It's dressed as determination, but it's stubbornness. Stubbornness dressed as determination.
That's a really sharp observation. Determination dressed as stubbornness. I like that. It's like you're confusing grit with rigidity, and that rigidity, that's what locks you in, prevents you from seeing the reality of the situation, from cutting your losses. It's almost like the very quality that got you to the trading desk in the first place is the thing that's going to get you into trouble. Do you think a lot of traders don't even recognize that? Like, they see themselves as being disciplined and resilient, but it's actually something else?
I think they know it. I think they recognize it, that something's gone wrong, you know, when they're emotionally chopped up by a bad day or a bad succession of actions that clearly is self-destructive. But, you know, having to zoom out, you know, having the ability to zoom out and look at themselves, look at the traits that they have. I don't know if people give enough time to do that. Obviously everyone has the ability to do that, but I feel like when it comes to this game, people are so head down, you know, trying to just make money on a given day, you know, and if they don't, they'll come back the next day. If they don't make money that day, they'll come back the next day. Maybe that day's an up, you know, and they're just going to keep going and keep going and keep going, you know, in the name of determination. Yeah, I mean, I'd be interested to even know what most, you know, most sports, how most sports people would do in the arena of trading. I'd imagine most of them would end up in that 95% statistic of people that fail. You know, brute force isn't enough. Not to say that all athletes or all sportsmen just use brute force. You know, there is a skill aspect to it as well, but a lot of time brute force and determination can get people wins. You know, just showing up and never giving up can just get people wins.
Trading demands a different kind of force, doesn't it? A more subtle force, like the force of detachment or the force of accepting a loss and moving on. It's not about brute force at all. It's almost anti-force. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Anti-force, I guess, or you could just call it acceptance, maybe, for us not to get too wordy with things. But yeah, I just wanted to bring that to the table because you just really, within myself, you know I've typically been a determined person, you know, and it's helped me in other walks of life. You know, again, you want to talk about sports, you know, it's helped me in the likes of chess. It's helped me in the workplace, in business. Trading is just that much more tricky. I mean, obviously I'm lucky now to have found a place to point that in the trading world, but I can only point that at system trading. I can't point that determination at being a quote unquote day trader that sits in front of the charts. Even though you might know what a good setup is, a high probability setup, even though you know what your trading play is, the temptation to sway away from that is always going to be there. So being determined to stick in that environment of staring at the charts, I just don't think is a great thing. So I have to point it at the automation side of things, working offline, so to speak, and putting my energy towards automating strategies that can run without me having to be there. I'd really want to share that with other people who are going through the ups and downs of attempting to master trading, staring at the charts. But that's a whole nother topic. Have you got any closing thoughts sort of on, how people can almost rewire or retarget their determination in the trading world?
Rewire, retarget. I think it comes down to shifting the focus from outcomes to process. Like, instead of being determined to make money today, be determined to perfect your system or execute your plan flawlessly. And honestly, I think you're spot on about automation. Moving that determination away from the immediate gratification of the market and towards building something lasting. That sounds like a much healthier approach. It's a longer game, but maybe that's the point. Trading isn't a sprint, right? It's more like a marathon where you need to know when to rest.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we could just quickly dive into revenge, which again, is definitely related to determination. It's almost like a child of determination. I don't know what the hierarchy of the relationship would be per se. Maybe you can clarify that or shed some light on that. But yeah, revenge trading seems to get a lot of traders, and it's interesting because exercising revenge in, again, going back to sports is just such a good analogy, or at least something to compare against. In sports, applying revenge, saying I'm going to get this back at me again. You look at Jordan, Save the Last Dance.
Right.
He almost manufactured, thoughts, vengeful thoughts, so he could use that as fuel in the actual arena of sport, in the arena of basketball. In trading,
that's fascinating.
People don't need to manufacture their revenge. You'll have plenty of reasons to feel vengeful, but that, as we know, is a trap in the trading world. It's just interesting how attributes outside of the trading world, certainly in sports, and I know we're repeating ourselves slightly, but it's not just determination. It's other things related to determination as well.
It's such a subtle difference, isn't it? Like in sports, channeling that anger, that need for revenge can be productive. But in trading, it's just poison. It's almost like the market doesn't care about your personal narrative. It's totally indifferent. So seeking revenge, trying to win back what you've lost, is just playing into the market's indifference. It's a losing game from the start. It's like the market is saying, you're upset? Good for you. Doesn't change anything. That's cold, but it's true.
So to wrap up, is there anything that you think that may help up and coming traders listening into this? We cover quite a bit of ground, but any sort of positive takeaways, just to sort of conclude here? I'll let you take the floor.
Okay. I think be brutally honest with yourself about what's driving you. Is it a genuine desire to master a skill, or is it a chase for quick money? If it's the latter, you're probably setting yourself up for disappointment. And remember, determination is a tool, not a goal. It needs a purpose, a direction. Find the right target, and don't be afraid to step back and reassess. And maybe, just maybe, consider automating. It might just save your sanity and your capital.